All right, welcome back everyone to the Internet 2.0 conference, the USA edition, driven by innovation and empowered by ideas. I hope you guys enjoyed your lunch. Now, our next panel discussion is on the topic, how to create a centralized customer-oriented experience. By means of this session, you will learn how to maintain client satisfaction and endure a flawless experience using the least amount of effort possible. Want to learn from business gurus on how to attract customers? Well, use tips, methods, and strategies that our experts are going to share. Please help welcome the next panelist, Armando Rodriguez, the founder and executive director and CEO of LatinoRen. We also have Chris Phipps from the CMO at Phenometrix. Welcome them to the stage. And we also have our moderator, Dominique D. the founder and CEO of ACE Solutions, Inc. and Associates as our moderator. Welcome all to the stage.
Everyone can hear everybody good? Beautiful, beautiful. A few housekeeping items. So if you have a question, you have to line up right there in the center, right there with that little X there, because the cameras are going to catch you so wonderfully if you're lined up properly for the video. And if you have questions, go ahead and line up too at the side. So we don't kind of like wait. So we can kind of get through everybody and make sure we're hitting on all the topics that you're interested in. Okay. So we've already done such a wonderful introduction of our panelists here. And our discussion today is on how to create a centralized customer-oriented experience. Now, for most companies, that's a buzzword when I hear customer centricity, because it's just about, to them, it's just rebranding traditional marketing and sales and customer services that involves no fundamental changes when it comes to delivering, and it delivers little benefit. But when you think about true customer centricity, it requires transforming all enterprise functions that affect customers. You're breaking down the silos between these functions, and you're building culture that rewards all of the individuals that are involved here with their behaviors, aligned with their customer success and things of that nature. Now, what I want to do here is talk about that underlying layer, that subset, when it comes to developing a customer centralized experience. And that is the internet of behavior. It's how do you identify your unique customer? How is it that you can make sure that you're looking at their past actions and using psychology to predict their future actions? Now, that's going to lead us right directly into Chris Phipps. He's doing something beautiful with biometrics in psychology. Now, Chris, why don't you share with us how you have applied centralized customer-oriented experience approach in what you're doing?
Right, thank you. Yeah, my company, Phenometrix, not mine, but I'm at it with a friend of mine that founded it a couple of years ago. We look at a person's face, and from that, we do computer vision, AI, and ML, and we extract features that we want to pick up, certain traits that we then correlate to decades of research, 30 some odd thousand mappings of the face to determine their genetic personality traits. You can also look at their speech and their language to detect their real world learned personality trait. So one thing that we did for a company is we took 150 Lexus owners, they give us the facial pictures, and 150 BMW owners, the facial pictures. We ran it through our system, and we were able to pull out and extract the strongest, most dominant traits that you could define a Lexus owner versus a BMW owner. And then they gave us a bunch of other faces where we didn't know which one was which, and we came out like 98% correct. They were going to go back and use that for the messaging or the marketing or whatever. So that's just an example of how you can take customers and you can cluster them together based upon what you know about them, what you know about maybe their online activity or maybe what their personal behavior is online, cluster them together as a group and service overall those customers better based on what you know about that group.
That sounds phenomenal. And I know we talked about it, how that just because a person may do something in the past doesn't mean they're going to necessarily always predict and do that same thing. So we talked about how engaging with the customer throughout the entire process. So once you gather that information, then how do you work with that information? I'd like to pivot a little bit to Armando, and I'd like for you to discuss with us what you're doing to make sure you're creating that customized, centralized experience for your students.
Okay, so basically what I do is I have a nonprofit that basically targets inner city communities to teach them conversational AI in most places where they're not taught. And so I basically teach them, low-level introductory courses. And then from there, we develop talent and then we're able to offer internships and even employment in my for-profit company called Compassionate Bot. And so getting back to topic, just so you know the reference point of where I'm talking, everything that I do is customer-centric. It should be customer-centric for you as well. I am also a social media influencer. I'm a lot of things, but I'm always authentic. You'll never see me say something I don't believe or I don't mean. So I always tell and help my friends with their own SEO and the way that they message their customer base is to be customer centric is to be authentic. And you don't need 1 million views, you need 10 of the right views.
Exactly.
Because if you know your customer, you're able to direct your message directly to that customer and you don't have to pander yourself to a mass audience if in fact that's not your audience. If you're authentic and if you're providing real solutions with real answers, then you're going to be popular. If you say you're going to help someone with something and you help them with something, they're going to keep coming back to you. It's all about very simple, old-fashioned values of your word is the most important thing. Stay true to yourself and develop authentic campaigns when it comes to looking at your customers. And I really think, I'll close with this, is that you have to have 3 things that characterize your social media campaigns. 2 things that are your values and 1 quirky thing about you. Each one of us is a weirdo in some way. That 3rd thing is a weirdo thing. Use that in your social media influence. Use that in your marketing. 2 things that are your standards, your blueprints, and the 3rd thing should be something unique to your company, something different from everybody else.
Only 1 quirk?
I've had like 3,000.
My wife says I got a lot.
Oh, absolutely. No worries, no worries. You touched on a point that truly struck with me. And that's how do you, when you're thinking about customer centricity, you're going to embed that into your company's DNA. And when you talk about being authentic, when you talk about differentiating yourself, the audience here, I'm sure we have different ones in the audience here. What is it that you have experienced, if you'd like to share? What is like that biggest hurdle that you've experienced with centralizing, in a sense, your customer approach to reaching your unique customer? Oh, absolutely. Right here, if you line up here, you can have your mic and you'll be right on video.
While you come up,
Get camera ready.
I'll fill in with a couple things. We've all been doing, I'm sure, Google Analytics for years. That's the first thing you do to your website. You use something that's called a heat map, one of those things to see where people go on your site. All those things are normal tools. Now, what do we do going forward, though? It's a challenge. That's a challenge. What do we do going forward?
This is such a great topic. Thank you guys for being here and happy holidays. My question is really, my name is Nadine Chino. I'm an impact inventor. And my question is, as an innovator, how would you use the kind of technology you've developed to help people manage change? Change within organizations is one of the most difficult things to move the needle. So many stakeholders and so forth, but you need one or 2 champions, right? How do we really communicate with those champions when so much of it is mediated through internet and non-personal eye contact and the lack of chemistry by being in the same room? Thank you.
I'll take a stab at it. Change in companies is so fickle, right? It's difficult to implement. And to me, it's like AI is a buzzword. Everybody says, I've walked out here and heard AI 10,000 ways. And I'm like, what does AI mean to you? Like, explain to me what AI is in your capacity, like, because it just shouldn't be a buzzword. So to me, it's like, there's 3 levels of information when it comes to when you're analyzing a vendor and they're saying AI. There's 3 things. One is like a learning community. I come from the education world. That's really the way it's my point of reference. It's like the library of books is where you learn your stories, you learn your knowledge. Tell me what you're using for data. Number 2, what is the brain? Are you using Google? Are you using something proprietary? What is the function of, like, what's analyzing? What's the intelligence behind it? And I'm using intelligence as a quote. And the last thing, and the most important thing, is who is the architect? Who's implementing your solution? They could have the best data and the best engine, a best brain, but if the architect is not understanding your business or didn't do the right work, change is not going to happen. Technology is just a tool. People need to help people change.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things too that really flows right into is externalizing innovation. Research and development can't just be about companies that are just going to look at the technical aspects. It's engaging with the customers. I've worked with various different customers and this is in the healthcare industry, where we're actually sitting with, whether it's in that billing department, whether it's in that registration and that patient check-in, what is that experience like for the patient, for the consumer, for the customer? And how do you then engage properly with them? And then how do you manage them throughout the entire process? So again, this is something that you definitely need to connect with your customers and understand what are their pain points. Are you having those types of discussions, real discussions about being authentic to you and what you're providing for them? You're not selling them just a product. You're wanting them to come back to you. You want to give them something they truly need. In order to do that, you need to ask them, what do they need? So again, I thank you very much for that. Are there any other questions or anything that anyone has that they'd like to present to the audience here related to creating that type of centralized approach when it comes to reaching your customers? And if no,
Any good tools that you like now?
yes. Any tools now that you all
There's
are
a
using?
company that we work with a little bit called iMotion out of the Netherlands. And this is more of a research group, but they use labs in the US and they will put some cameras and all that and track your eye movement as you go from web page to web page to actually see where the eye goes. They just don't assume that, oh, the cursor's here. So most of the time that's where your eye is. They actually track the eye where it goes on every web page. So iMotion. So but that's in a very focused group. You can't do that online very well, of course.
Well, we have approximately 5 tips when it comes to helpful tips related to creating that centralized approach. Armando and our Chris has shared a lot of those. I'm going to summarize them in approximately 5 steps here. It's about embedding customer centricity and practices in your company's DNA. You need to, and this is across all functions. The second piece is regarding seeking competitive differentiation when it comes to how are you different from every other company out there? How is it your customer journey different from another competitor? Do you even know? Have you done that sort of intelligence there? The third is externalizing your innovation, not just your research and development groups and your little techie groups. And we're going to sit here and discuss this data and look at this data. It's, are you engaging with your customers? And then fourth, it's reorienting how your sales focus is. Is it selling? Are you selling to the customer? Or are you selling for the customer? Are you truly meeting their need? Do you know their need? And then fifth, you're going to marry that customer centricity with your employee engagement. Because again, your employees are you too. So it's how do they represent you? And then do they even know what your mission is and how to reach your customers? Again, if you have any questions or just even want to chat after this related to customer centricity and maybe other tools that we've used. I've been in the healthcare industry for 25 years, but also with nonprofits and working with out-of-school time organizations and flowing that patient or that student through the entire process, whether in their enhancement programs and really reaching them, and also working with vendors to do that. So again, we have wonderful vendors here.
I want to add something about change. And I think I had either saw a TED Talk or did some training online on this. And one of the things that's required for change is honesty, and honesty from the leadership, meaning that we have a problem and there has to be transparency and there has to be the ability to be honest. If I am a middle manager and I don't feel like I can be honest with my executive team, then no change will ever happen. So it starts with trust. It starts with the leadership of every organization saying, here's the problem. Let's put it on the table. Like Apollo 11, let's just figure out how we're going to make all these pieces work and how it's going to save our company. Because at the end of the day, we're a team, right? If you want to be a successful company, you have to be a high performance team. And as a leader of an organization, you have to be able to know when to lead and when to let others lead. And there's amazing talent at every single company, at every age level. I mean, some of these young kids today are coming out of the box, just pre-programmed. Like we weren't dealing with iPads or anything like this, when we were growing up. I'm 47 years old. But I'm telling you, you have to tap into this inner intellectual property that's in every single employee. And no one should be denied the opportunity to participate in performance improvement. And that should be one of the lifelines of your company. If it is not, and if you're not being transparent, honest with yourself as a leader, then you're going to suffer the consequences of a lot of people lying to you, which is the worst possible case.
Well, maybe I'll stir it up with a few more thoughts. What about if you could know a person's personality down to their exact personality traits, just like the DISC, the Briggs-Meyer, one of those tests, really detailed, right? All right, couple things. Search. Google's done a good job now where they'll show me what's nearby. They want to know where I am. They even let me shop at store online, all that stuff. It's incredible. Well, maybe I don't want all that. My personality's not like that. I want to know this or that. They don't know that. They lump me with their general knowledge of what seems to work best overall. What about if they knew me personally? What about if I allowed them to know my exact personality type? That's search. What about other things like financial, your credit card? It learns your history. Well, that could be a value add. They say, upload your picture, give some text, then they run the information, and in 2 seconds, they know your personality down to the finest little nit. Now they know this person should not be buying this like this. That's against his personality type. Is that really him? Maybe not. That could be a value add for selling that financial card, right? What about the thing that we do the most? Text. That didn't change in 30 years. Yeah, we send emoji now and pictures. What about text? It would know your personality. It could know your personality. And what about if you're texting something and it knew you're the type that could be too outgoing and impulsive, and it could be 2 a.m. and all that kind of stuff. It could say, save that to the morning. This is not a good time based upon your personality to send it. That could add another layer of intelligence to even texting. So things that could happen if you are very customer centric and you know about that person and you know about their personality, and that person is willing to share that much about their personality, that could be a lot of value add for everything from financial to search to communication to dating, everything, even recommending entertainment. It's scary on the dating. There's a lot of controversy, but it's coming. We're not the only company doing it. There's a lot of other companies doing it. There's a company now that they can take your picture and recommend for a cosmetic firm, recommend to you what cosmetics are good for you based on your personality, not your skin color, like your fall or winter and all that, but your personality type. So
Very interesting.
It's coming.
We had a young lady that was going to be joining, but unfortunately there was a family emergency. And she's actually going to join related to the risk, security and risk aspect of that, because each of these ideas are absolutely wonderful, but they're risky. So you have to have that layer of security. What does that look like? And she was going to really go into that topic there. But stay tuned, if you want to hear more.
Just, if you don't mind, I'll speak briefly about what my company does, because we've all had a chance to showcase. But just to be brief, I have a nonprofit that helps inner city kids learn how to do conversational AI, something that's a very marketable skill. But the way that we implement conversational AI and chatbots is very unique. If I am sitting at Costco and I see a line of 15 people, I don't want it to analyze how many feet there are to the counter, what the average cost of my cart is. Like I'm scared to go into Amazon stores because they have so many cameras and I feel so nervous just walking around. Like, what is it doing? And how, like, maybe it's using your software. Scary, but to me, it seems scary. But what I'm trying to do with Compassionate Bot is to give it a more lifelike, human-like approach. So if I know that an agent's not going to come on the line to another 10 minutes, then I will engage you, understanding your perspective and saying, okay, it looks like you have a 213 area code. Are you from LA or are you living in LA? Because some people are nomadic. We can have a 213 area code in New York or somewhere else. And they'll say, oh, I am from LA. And so, okay, cool. Knows my name is Armando. Most likely I'm a male, a Latino male. So I will say, oh, how do you like sports? Do you like sports? Do you like this or like that? And it'll take me down the path. What it's doing is it's doing what you and I would do if we're sitting next to waiting to be helped in the counter. Is like, it's not solving your problem because that's not what you want. You press 000 because you want to get exit out of these automated systems. But this system, what we're trying to build in Compassionate Bot is a lifeline, is like your buddy, just talking to you about the things that you love, entertaining you. And if it's the third time you've called this month, it's going to say, you know what? I'm sorry, Armando, you've called 3 times. What about if we give you a $5 gift card to Starbucks? I like that chatbot more than the agent. You know what I mean? But we have to remember the legality of this. There's a Supreme Court case right now that's up for review saying that there has to be consent. So at the end of every conversation, I'd have to ask, would you like me to save these preferences? So that the next time I come on board, hey, the Clippers are on a 5-game win streak. What do you think about Kawhi coming back? I might call that chatbot just to talk about sports. You know, I want it to be engaging and sticky, the way that your friends are sticky, the way that your friends remember. And the one thing that is not happening in AI right now until Chat GPT, while even Chat GPT doesn't have it, is memory. Systems do not have memory. I'm working with a partner called iGo AI who does have a solution for call centers that have 1,000 agents or more that can basically field 90% of calls within its IVR chatbot system. And so this is saving you a ton of money because it has memory and cognition. Write it down, igo.ai. And if you need more information, please let me know. I deal with the small, mid-sized companies, but if it's a big company and you're a decision maker for those types of companies and you want to reduce your cost, and you want to reduce all the call centers, international call centers that might not always be the most efficient or not culturally sensitive, this solution, iGo AI, is your out of the box. But if you want something like what I'm talking about, your buddy, your friend, then talk to me. But either way, I've got those type of solutions.
I thank you very much for sharing oh, we have a question here. You can go ahead. And we have 6 minutes and 52 seconds on the clock. Thank you very much. Go ahead and step right there. Thank you.
You talked about personalization. I wanted to know if you have experimented with neuromarketing and identifying emotions, etc., via devices, and using that as a way to personalize your applications.
Right. There's one of the leaders is called Effectiva. They're in Boston. They started out 5-7 years ago, and she's written a book and all that, and it's pretty famous. And they look at the effect, emotion, we call it, but yeah, they look at your emotions, especially for market research or product groups, or it could even be stores now, you know. So if you're smiling, frowning, all that, and they claim to be pretty accurate, but I think it's only about 60%. So it can be wrong. In Russia, if you smile, doesn't mean you're happy. There's a lot of things like that. It could be way off. So, and that's the risk of all this personality stuff or emotion detection, is you could be wrong. And then, you know, that can have a backfire consequence. But no, but that is going on big time. People are pursuing that big time. The emotions, even the emotion on how you look, but emotions and how you type, even your personality and how you type. Are you, you know, how you do in the chatbot, how you type in the chatbot, how are you responding and asking questions? They can infer a lot from it now with AI programs for personality and emotion detection. So if you want to really mess them up, and I'll do sometimes, I'll just act like a different person. I'll just type in a totally different personality mood and just see how they respond for fun. And if they respond the way I go, oh, that's a pretty good program, you know, except it's wrong, but it's pretty good, you know, but it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Right,
Thank you very much. You have any other questions? Well, we're going to close out our session, and I thank you so very much for attending. And if you have any additional questions for any of the panelists that are here, they're all approachable. Please give them a call and walk up to them. And if you have any questions related to any of the things that we've talked about of the 5 tips and helpful tips with customer-oriented approach and things of that nature, visit give me a call as well. So thank you again for all attending, and the links will be available for the presentation as well.